Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tentacle Touchy, and this is the Game Boys podcast featuring the one and only Perrydactyl Show, Mitch Kramer, Steve Hobo, and Rasputin. And I am special guest Tentacle Touchy.
Psych! It's Djali Goat!
It's actually me.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Game Boys podcast with your host, me, Heavy-Eyed Mitch Kramer, and I'm joined with Steve Hobo.
Yo, what's up?
Rasputin.
Hey, my boy, how you doing today?
Perrydactyl.
Yo!
And special guest, Djali Goat.
Yo, what's up?
Welcome, Jolly.
Hey, Djali,
Hi,
welcome
Steve.
to the show.
How's everyone's week been before we get into the topic? How's everyone been doing?
I've just been chilling, after still catching up after being on vacation. Not doing too much. Been playing a lot of Rocket League, though, because Rocket League is the best game ever.
More like Hype League, am I right?
So Rocket League's pretty good. My issue playing with strangers is the worst.
I haven't, actually, it hasn't been bad for me.
Man,
I've
they're
had some bad
dumb.
people.
The last time, like a week ago, I just found out that you could fly in Rocket League, and now the game is 1,000 times more interesting.
So if you go into the training mode, you have unlimited boost, so you can just
I
fly
know!
around the stage.
But now it's great because now all the time, like, I'll be playing with random strangers, just like, yeah, I'm just gonna fly this one out. And so
Yeah.
they probably just see a car flying around, they're like, what the hell is he doing? And
So
I
you're
just
the
like to
weird
think to
random
myself,
guy.
if I oh no, that's nothing. There is like an achievement where it's like hit the ball backwards, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna only play driving backwards, and I think I did that for about 50 games.
Dude, I scored a goal with a bicycle hit. It was
Yeah, it's
pretty awesome.
I've done it too. It was really slow, so
Yeah.
it wasn't that exciting.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
it just
you barely
bounced
tapped it in there?
Like I hit it and it like kind of went in a big arch, and then bounced, and then a guy whiffed on the other team, and then it bounced in. I was like, I'll take it. Like,
Yeah.
it still counts, but it's not great.
How is it on PS4?
I think it's I mean, I haven't played on PC, so I really can't
It's like the
tell you how it
same.
compares. It
not
seems
not much different.
I have it on
It seems
PS4. I mean, it works pretty great. They gave it away for
Yeah.
free, and I had no idea what it was.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
such
how
a good
it
way
was
to
for
release a
me
game.
before
I
bought it on
personally
PC.
class as the Canadian pizza delivery truck. That is my.
So I have
Yo!
a little Italian flag on mine. just
Yo,
for
if you're
Perry.
not running the Kawaii car, you're doing it wrong.
I got a hot pink van with a construction worker hat. It's great.
Oh yeah, boy.
It's like a village people car.
interesting. Yeah, I just have a top hat and Saturn.
I have a Viking helmet now. It's
Is
pretty
that
great.
the Broomhilda one or
I don't know.
whatever?
He doesn't know what that is, Raz.
Sorry.
Stop. We're not bringing this into every podcast episode. God, let's move on. So what have you been playing, Raz?
I've been playing Bloodborne a lot. It's good. It's been a while since I've had that like clench your butthole Souls experience.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that again. I think the bosses are done really well so far from what I've seen.
Okay.
My big complaint is how healing works in the game. Like a staple of the original Dark Souls is that you get Estus flasks, and you get a certain amount each time you like spawn. And when you die or go to a bonfire, they get reset, so they're at like their full amount. But in this, you don't have that. It's like a complete consumable item, and like that seems like it might be an all right thing. But what ends up happening is you just have to grind at certain areas for like an hour.
It sounds like
And
Demon
that-
Souls.
Yo,
Yeah.
Rez, it sounds like you got a new PS4, though.
Yeah, we talked about that in the last podcast.
Oh, fuck. Really?
Yeah, when I said, "Hey, I got a PS4, guys."
Oh, well, see,
He
here's
said,
the thing.
I have a great announcement.
Wait.
I have a PS4, and you forgot.
Okay, so
Oh.
how far are you in Bloodborne?
Just cut that out, Mitch.
No, don't cut that out, Mitch.
No.
I think I'm probably. It's hard. It's hard to tell. I just beat the Shadows. Have you beaten?
Oh my god, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
The shadows
Yeah.
of bullshit. Their
Yeah.
stupid goddamn snake spell. Oh my god. Absolutely
Is that what you were raging
stupid.
about last night?
That's what I was raging about.
Oh
last
no,
night.
see, you're not even like halfway done. I'm like
That's not halfway. Okay.
there's like for me that's been the second hardest boss out of the entire game. But I just like the last boss that I faced, which was like an optional boss, and that was like the other thing I like about this game. But I also there's so many optional side quests, and I honestly would have missed them all if I had not looked at a guide online, like beforehand. And they were like, "Don't forget to do this and this and this for the good areas," and I was like, "Oh shit!" But like, I never would have found them anyways, otherwise, because it was weird specific ways to do it. But I just found out. I just found out that you could like summon other players in your game. So I was fighting this boss, and I was like, "Oh, what does this do?" And I summoned another human player, and I was like, "Oh my god! Well, now it's easy."
I've solved it. Yeah, I mean, so like I've played a lot of Souls games, so I know that's a feature. I have this pride because like I beat Dark Souls, so I'm like I can do this without any help. But I'm afraid that I can't. I'm not positive if that's something I could actually do.
I beat all the bosses by myself, and except for that one where
Ah,
I
cool.
just so happened to discover that you could actually play multiplayer, which I honest God didn't even know you could do.
And
And
that's really cool. I love
there's like
the multiplayer.
one boss in the game. I don't know if I should say his name because if you're lore heavy, it will probably be a spoiler.
Yeah.
But he's an evil old Iceman, and he's a piece of shit.
Wait, are you talking about Mr. Freeze?
Yes, Perry.
Frozone.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, it's probably Frozone.
He has a gigantic freeze scythe, and it's a piece of shit.
sounds
not fun.
terrible.
Like, it's super,
Yeah.
super, super hard. But then, like, the other thing about that game that I realized is that when I, like, fight a boss and it's just impossibly hard, I'm just like, oh, well, I guess I could just go grind my level up and then make it easier that way.
Yeah, I like what I really like about it is the first 3 hours. I mean, it really depends on how good you are, I guess. But the first to the first 3 bosses, I suppose, it's really linear. And then after you beat the third boss, it's like, okay, like go have fun, like you do you, and it like opens up, and there's so many different ways you can go, and they're all so expansive. And it definitely has that good old Souls feel to it. I think it's back. Like Dark Souls 2 I enjoyed, but there's a lot of stuff that was kind of limiting for it. This is kind of back, I think, to the stride of the series.
I've never played Dark Souls, but Bloodborne is so friggin' gorgeous. It is like the
Oh.
best like it's just got that like Victorian evil sad style. Like it's so cool.
And like the skyboxes look really good, which is different than Dark Souls 2, where like in the distance you're kind of like, that looks okay. Like the idea in the distance looks cool, but the actual image itself kind of looked grainy and pixely. But man, just looking over big chasms or just off of a big balcony, you're like, oh, I'm fucking my breath is taken away here.
Yeah, I'm excited to play it, but I'm waiting till I finish Dark Souls if that ever happens. Because I'm not very good at it.
I also like when you run around and roll through enemies, they just kind of like stick to you like popcorn. And they kind of like roll along
Oh, like
with
dead
you.
ones?
Yeah, dead
Yeah.
enemies just kind of ragdoll, and like I'll just roll through one, and if it's like a big fat one, you just get stuck inside it, and then I've probably spent so much time just rolling around dead guys.
It always scares me because I'm like, holy shit, someone's trying to get to me. But it's like, oh, it's just a dead body.
So anyone else have anything to say before we get into this week's topic?
Well, I haven't said what I've been playing.
Oh, shit. Sorry, Djali.
Good host.
Thanks for totally skipping me. But it's
Sorry.
okay.
The
I won't
guests aren't important here.
I won't hold it against you, Mitch. So that's fine.
What have you
Go
been
ahead,
playing,
Jolly.
Djali?
So I've been like a games gypsy for the past couple weeks. I've been hotel hopping around and around, and I've only been playing 3DS and Vita games. And I only own one Vita game, which was Persona 4 Golden, because Canepa told me to buy it. And all I do in that game is try to romance all the girls.
That's all I've heard
I'm
about
like,
that
oh,
game.
you could go to the
That's why I
dungeon
wanna
today.
play.
I'm like, I don't want to spend the next 2 hours grinding enemies. I'm just going to talk to this chick. And then, like, my best friend in the game, he's like the first kid you meet. He's like, I'm your best friend. I don't think I've ever talked to him once. Because he's like, want to hang out today? I'm like, nah, I'm gonna hang out with this girl instead.
Yo, there's some girls over here. Sorry.
Yeah, bros before hoes.
So
doesn't
I don't know if
exist
that's the
in
best
world of
strategy in
Persona.
the game, but that is the way I'm playing.
That's your swanky strats for Persona.
Yeah. It's the date everybody swanky strat.
Nice.
And I've been playing, like, I brought along my 3DS, so I had a bit of it. I had, like, the new game that I haven't even beaten yet, codenamed Steam. It's, like, made by the same people who did Fire Emblem. It's like a Nintendo XCOM. It's not bad, but it's actually really frustrating and hard. Because...
I've heard it's got a weird curve on it.
Yeah, well, like, when you play codenamed Steam, it's kind of like XCOM, but, like, enemies never, ever stop respawning. Ever. So you might be thinking like you're doing good, and then it's like the game's like, oh, here's 7 enemies, and they just spawn around you, and you're like, oh well, shit. And like usually like the way you can like play like XCOM or Fire Emblem, you can like slowly pick people off and like think around it. But like this game, it's always throwing something in your face. Like enemies just never stop, and like one enemy is strong enough to like totally fuck your shit up. Like it's just like, oh, here's a guy with a grenade launcher, now you're dead. And I'm just like, oh my god. But in like it's good because it's always forcing you to like pull out all the stops. You're always thinking it's like, oh man, there's a curveball at every single moment. It's like, what am I gonna do? And like it's not bad. Like it's a pretty good game. And it has like one of the greatest boss battles ever. You get to fight a gigantic mecha Abraham Lincoln. No, you are a giant mecha Abraham Lincoln fighting a giant like kaiju monster.
Oh, nice.
And it plays differently because the game is just like, here's some XCOM missions, XCOM missions, XCOM missions. Oh, by the way, here's a special mission where you're gigantic Abraham Lincoln, the like Optimus Prime, and you just fight like a giant squid. It's ridiculous.
A giant squid.
Jesus.
And like
That's great.
Abraham Lincoln's like one of the main characters in the game for some reason, and so is
I
like
know there's like Lincoln, Tom Sawyer.
yeah, Tom Sawyer's there. He has a big punchy glove. It's like the Nintendo Extendo hand. He just hits people with his glove from far away.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, great
That's pretty
job.
funny.
You get to play. There's like a scarecrow and his head is a pumpkin, and he throws it at people and it's a bomb. I'm pretty sure that's like a stereotype character too.
Oh my god.
They're all like really weird. I'm pretty sure Jack the Ripper's in there somewhere. They're all like really weird, like Britishy characters, except Abraham Lincoln. It makes it's so. And then all the cutscenes are like comic books. Like it's such a weird game that got no exposure. But
That's what I was gonna say. I feel like it just got brushed over really quickly.
yeah, well, I know there was a problem. Like Nintendo was all like, "I hope you guys are ready for Codename Steam." And then I think the main voice actor in the game, he plays Jane on Firefly. If you guys have ever seen,
Yeah.
and
Adam
I
Baldwin.
think right around the time that the game came out, he made some really bad like controversial Twitter tweets about like that were like super.
So I don't.
They were like
I don't wanna
homophobic
get
and
into it.
stuff, and then like after he did that, Nintendo just was like, "We're not talking about Codename Steam now."
So like he is the one that coined Gamergate. He coined
Really?
#Gamergate. Yeah.
Oh god.
So I think it probably had to do with that.
Yeah, I
don't wanna
wouldn't
get
doubt
into
it.
that,
But it was really sad because like as soon as that game came out, there was all this controversy around him, and he was like, Nintendo was all like, "Oh, guys, if you like Firefly, you're gonna love this game. He's the same." And then they just were like, "Okay, we're not tweeting about Codename Steam at all. We're just gonna pretend it doesn't exist right now," which is sad because it's a pretty different, like, it's a really cool game. It's cool to see Nintendo like tackle that whole XCOM, like, kind of genre with their own like spin on it.
And it's a new IP. You don't see new IPs from Nintendo so often.
Well, I mean, you do, and
Recently.
then they don't do as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so.
Unless it's Wii Fit.
All right. Is that everyone? Did I miss
And,
anyone this
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, besides that, like I did play Rocket League before I left on my trip, which was
Yeah.
super. It's free. I guess it's not free on PS4 anymore. Sorry,
Yeah.
you guys missed
we'll play
out.
sometime.
Yeah. Everyone should buy it anyway. Like,
Yeah, I have it
I
on
feel
both.
like at this point, everyone's playing Rocket League, so you should get on that. All right. Well, this week's topic, are we ready to talk about that?
Yep.
Is making your own games out of video games. So, like, it's a hard one to explain, but just finding things to do that weren't intended within a game, or finding, like, a different way to play it. Something like, I guess, Djali, your story is really interesting, so maybe we should start with that.
Yeah. Yeah, Jolly, you're the reason why you're here is because you got this really great
Yep.
story.
Oh yeah, no. Actually, yeah, but I like it just popped into my head too. Like, it's. Would you consider before I tell my story, which I'm really excited to talk about? Would you consider like if it's playing your own games like within a game? Would you compare like the whole like competitive Smash Brothers scene? How people like they were like, oh yeah, it's this fun free for all party game, but like you actually can make like a super competitive scene about it, and it's been a
Wait, are you going to talk about dunk skip ball?
dunk skip ball. Oh yeah, we can talk about
Remember?
that too.
Oh, that's fun. Sorry, I thought that's what you were going to
No,
talk about.
I just meant like the whole like competitive scene in general. Like, there's this underground scene that's
mean-
been going for so long. Like,
Because it wasn't intended.
Since
Like,
2000.
Nintendo,
yeah, since 2001, people like made online communities like to meet up and like do real life tournaments and like.
yeah, because it was just a party game.
Yeah, it's
Like, that's
definitely
all it was.
making something special out of what was not intended by the developers. Because I think the story goes that they literally just forgot to remove wave dashing.
No,
So-
actually, wait. Oh god. Okay, I'll explain this in a second. I actually have pizza here, so I'm gonna let Perry explain Dunskip Ball, and I'll be back in a sec.
Yeah,
Alright.
okay. We're going to talk about Dunskip Ball while Jolly Goat eats a pizza for like 40 minutes. So Dunskip Ball is a custom map that you can make where you set up like basketball hoops. They're not really basketball hoops, but they're hoops. You know, like you have those hoops in Smash Bros. And basically what you do is you like knock someone off to the side and then you dunk them, which is like doing like a spike in the
Oh,
air.
yeah.
Like Captain Falcon's or Ganondorf's like little me thing, or like Mario's like forward air in the air. And the whole point of the game is like first person to get the most points wins. And let me tell you, Dunskip Ball is pretty fucking fantastic.
That sounds really fun.
I really thought Jolly was going to talk about that because that was something that he and I like really wanted to do.
Yeah. How do you
I've seen a lot of
how do you do
videos.
the hoops? Is it like with the stage builder in Smash 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was playing with this guy named Crazy Shotgun, and he had something set up, but it was like a meme kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you would get stuck in like a hoop and you just go down and keep bouncing around into like the actual level. But that's a whole different thing. But yeah, Dunskip Ball is really fun. But I'm gonna talk about another Smash game I play. That's a Smash game inside of a Smash game.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you know how in like Smash 4 there's like an 8-player mode?
Yeah.
So, I usually do this with like one or two other people, but basically we'll go into the 8-player mode and we'll do teams. It's like us versus the rest of the AI, and we'll have the AI set pretty high, and it becomes like this like survival match kind of thing. And let me tell you, that is really fun because you have to like figure out like, okay, we need one really, really heavy guy that could take a lot of hits for us, but we also need someone that can kill super easy too. And it's a lot of like strategic balancing, and it's a lot more fun than I ever thought it would be. It was just something we made up when we didn't have enough people to play 8-player.
Yeah. That's really interesting,
So
the
it's like a
fact that
horde
you're
mode.
you're planning
Yeah.
like each other's characters.
Yeah,
That's something that's
I think that's
really
why I like
interesting,
it.
I think.
Yeah, we just call it survival. I
Horde
didn't name
mode,
it.
that's a good way of putting it.
Horde mode is better. It's Horde mode in Smash Bros. Coming to Hyrule Warriors.
That just reminds me of the whole. I think this was a little popularized by Pro Jared. I don't know if you guys saw it, but the Ganondorf challenge.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So if you haven't seen,
Yeah, but here's
What
the
is the
thing. I've been
Ganondorf
doing that
challenge?
shit for years.
the Ganondorf challenge is, he made a video. He set Ganondorf to level 9, and I think he cranked the handicap like all the way to max. So it was like you had to get like Ganondorf to like 500% before you could even think of killing him. So it's really like an endurance match, and
Okay.
you have to be really aware of like not getting hit or else you're screwed. And it's like a 3-stock match. So after he made that, like a bunch of people started making videos of them doing the whole Ganondorf challenge, and it kind of spread pretty
Interesting. Yeah.
a lot further than I expected.
Yeah, spread wide.
Some cool shit.
Welcome back to myself. Huh? Oh, by the way,
It's a pizza party.
before I clarify, before I say anything else, I'm gonna clarify that wave dashing is just a jump canceled air dodge and makes complete physical sense within the game's physics. Because jump canceling
Yeah, get
techniques is
wrecked,
pretty regular
Steve.
with all the other attacks as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Know your Smash Bros. Steve.
I'm
God.
sorry,
Jeez.
man. I'm a
Maybe those are
Smash 4
Bros.
plebe.
Fucking
And
ass.
Sakurai has gone on record saying that he knew it was in the game. He just didn't know the extent of how like competitive Smash would get because he never intended it to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But a lot of the other developers, like specifically with like Melee and 64, you can kind of like go in and like see that like the other, because about the first two were more like heavily developed by HAL, and like even like trophy descriptions of some of the characters, like it's like Fox McCloud is more suited for single one-on-one fast-paced combat, and you're like, oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
holds true. Whereas like
Yeah.
characters like Donkey Kong, I guess, were more intended to just be thrown into 4-way free-for-alls and get donkey punches off.
Donkey punches. Anyways, Jolly, please tell us your great Zelda story. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, actually, before the Zelda, okay, now it's everyone knows it's a Zelda story now.
Damn it.
But
Well,
would you also before
had to
before
build
I,
up to
before I tell the Zelda story, would you also consider
okay, let's go.
like
Let's go. Just go. Come on, go.
you want the Zelda?
Just talk a
Okay,
story.
okay. So the way that I played Skyward Sword on my first playthrough of it was probably much different than most people. When I was really young and played Ocarina of Time, like I always used to play with my friends, specifically when my best friend Scott, and we always used to play Ocarina of Time together and like beat all the bosses and stuff, and we'd like take turns, and like it was just kind of like a childhood experience of mine. So then he like moved across the country, so he's literally on the opposite side of Canada, and we hadn't seen each other in a while, but he was coming back to visit, and Skyward Sword was coming out, and we were like, yo, we should get together and just like totally marathon Skyward Sword. That sounds fantastic. It's gonna be just like old times. So he came over, and we were both so hyped for the game, and we couldn't decide who should play. We were like, oh, I want to play. No, I want to play. So what we ended up doing, because like the Wii was so different because of the controller. It's like the one half is the nunchuck and the other half is like the joystick. Mm-hmm. So instead of deciding like who would play, we were like fighting over the controller, and then we just started like playing around with both of us holding the controller. I would be holding the one half, and he would be holding the other. And it started off just like really stupid and funny, but then we started like playing through the first level like that. And we were like, okay, well, we can make this work. And so like in Skyward Sword, the one hand is like the motion control for the sword, and the other hand's like the movement, and you need to kind of like press buttons on both sides at once to do stuff like backflipping or like locking onto an enemy and stuff. So it was a total shitfest half the time. Like, we would go in and get our ass kicked, especially the first boss, like Jirahim. He was, like, impossible, but then, like, the more we were playing it, slowly and surely we were, like, getting better at recognizing that we both wanted to do, like, the same things at the same time sometimes. Like, sometimes it would just be, like, our minds would be like, Neon Genesis Evangelion. We were just like total like 100% like super synced. We were like, oh my god,
The sync
did you
is
just
real.
try to do the exact same thing I did, but with your half of the controller? And he'd be like, yeah. And it would be like fantastic.
great.
But like, we ended up like developing our own like metagame on how to play through the game like that, because like the game at any point you can like take out your sword and it's 1-to-1 like motion control. So you can like take your sword and like point it skyward and then Link does it in the game, or you can point it to the right and then Link will do it. So sometimes like if one of us was on the sword and we were like, hey, I want to go over there, we would like point the sword where we wanted the other person to go, because like
That's awesome.
That's
Skyward Sword, like we were super hyped and like fighting each other like for a long time, but the game is so long. Like after we were playing for like 6-7 hours, we would just like get, you know, more quiet and like focused on the game. So we would like silently like communicate. Like one person would with the sword would be like pointing it where we wanted the other person
Oh my
to
God.
run.
Great.
So like we could go and play, and we would be like hunched over, focusing on the TV, and like whoever was like walking around would have free range where they wanted Link to go, but like the person with the sword would like point where they wanted him, and like we would guide each other that way. And we switched it around so that we would like trade roles and stuff. And like it was really, there were some really, really like interesting moments that completely changed the game, because we were doing like 2 players 1 controller. Because like certain boss fights were like the best item in Skyward Sword is the sword. Like there's so many different ways you can use it because the motion controls. Like there's the bosses that you got to hit like from certain angles and stuff. I remember this one boss. It was like we were doing like a fight against this like skeleton dude with like a bunch of different arms, and he got us down literally to like a quarter heart, and because we just couldn't like sync together our movements well enough, and that happened like sometimes in the game where like it would just be really, really hard because you don't have full control over what you want Link to do, and we had to work together, and it just made the game like it felt like we were playing. It still felt like we were playing Zelda, but it started feeling like we were playing a whole different like kind of game itself. Like we were saying, we were like, yo, why has no one made a game like this on the Wii where like is it just a total co-op shitfest where like both people
totally.
need to like control one person? And like I guess like Octodad has kind of a mode like that now where like one person controls one half the character in the arms.
Oh yeah.
But that's such like a cool gimmick for like a game where like 2 people are having to like take control of one body, and it just worked so well with Skyward Sword. And like it really did, like when you explain it, you're like, man, that would never work. How could you ever get through Zelda barely being able to control your character? But like the more we did it, the better we got at it, and it became like it was totally viable. It made the game a lot more challenging, which we actually enjoyed, because like I don't know, like sometimes you play through a game and you're like, oh well, I've already played like 10 Zeldas before this, so this wasn't that hard. We already like you can walk into a room and immediately recognize the puzzles or
That's
stuff.
a really easy one.
Yeah,
in general.
Skyward Sword did have like some challenging stuff, but like the actual like you can generally, if you've played a lot of Zelda, you go in and you're just like, I get it. But when you were playing like 2-person 1 controller, like the smallest challenges just became like these monumental leaps. Like there were bosses that like just repeatedly beat us, and we were like, okay, we can do this. Here's the plan. And we would just go in and like we made it work. We got through the entire game. We marathoned the entire game with 2 players, 1 controller, and the final boss especially. Oh my gosh, that was like incredible to do.
Yeah.
If you ever like want to experience it without, you know, sitting down for 2 days and playing through Skyward Sword, just like invite a friend over and like play one of the boss fights in Skyward Sword against like Girahim or like the final boss, and just play it 2 players, 1 controller, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's like this feeling of like working together like to control a fight. It's really, really cool.
It's like cooperation in its purest form.
Oh,
I don't
definitely.
think you could get better than that.
It's like Pacific Rim Zelda Edition.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking earlier.
Oh my totally
That's
specific
crazy.
totally specific rim, Pacific Rim. And like it was just amazing after, cuz like Skyward Sword like has this big open world where you can like go around so many different places, and it was funny because sometimes we would think differently and want to do different things, and we were like, no, we got to explore here, and then sometimes like without even talking to each other, we just kind of like knew what we were doing and just play through it just felt so natural in a weird way.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The sword mechanic, I think, really lends itself to being able to do co-op. I wonder other Wii games, like if that is a possibility or would translate as well. Because with the sword, you're right. You have like the ability to be like, hey, let's go over here and be specific about that. Because like I'm thinking like you could play Mario Kart Wii maybe, but it's really just one person holding down A.
Yeah.
And the other person doing everything else. But yeah, I'd be curious. Like,
I mean, Mario Kart Wii, I'm pretty sure if you'd play with the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, the person with the Wii Remote's going to be doing all your items. So it kind of would make it like Double Dash in theory. So I think that could be cool. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. Like, I feel like if that would have been me, Jolly, that had that experience, I'd want to, like, chase that high, and I'd just, like, try every single Wii game
Yeah.
to see if it worked.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Skyward Sword came out like pretty late. I mean, I can't even remember what games came out after it.
Yeah. I think Skyward Sword was 2011 or 2012.
Really?
It was 2011, yeah.
Yeah.
This is so long ago now.
And I guess like the other thing that reminds me of, sort of, it's not really the same, but if you're talking about games like making a new game like within a game, the most famous one in history and like probably the most famous social experiment on the internet like in recent memory, Twitch plays Pokemon.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't
Like-
believe I didn't think of that.
I hadn't even thought about it.
Gosh, we just got one up
Yeah.
so hard. But
Twitch plays Pokemon is like the biggest like the biggest multiplayer mode of any video game online
Oh,
in
yeah.
history.
Yeah.
With like everybody like I was like 2 people playing Skyward Sword was ridiculous. Twitch plays Pokemon had like 100,000 people, and like it was really funny because so many kids had never played like Pokemon Red and Blue before, and it was very evident like when in Twitch plays Pokemon like in the chat, like it was so cool to see how people were like helping each other out. There was like an online movement, and like people were using like forums and Reddit to like post images of like, okay guys, this is what Rock Cave actually looks like, and they would draw like a red line in paint. They were like, for everyone who hasn't played before and is playing Twitch plays Pokemon, this is how we do it. And like it's amazing because like if you've never like played those games before and that's your like first experience with Pokemon Red and Blue, like what an incredible way to experience the game. Like watching the world collectively. The internet is usually like you just look down in like the YouTube comments ever and like see how much like people just disagree and don't work together online, and then like throw up Twitch plays Pokemon and you have like all these people just like fighting. Like it's like that saying, it's like you put like 1,000 monkeys randomly typing in a room for an infinite amount of time, and eventually they'll write Shakespeare, and like eventually people did manage to beat Twitch plays Pokemon. And like there were some ridiculous moments that like I never even thought were possible statistically. Like everyone was like, okay, Operation Zapdos, instead of like playing through like the game objective to objective, literally by unanimous decision among like over 100,000 people, we were like, okay, we're going to power plant instead, and we're gonna go fight Zapdos. And the plan was just to go fight it because what are the odds of randomly catching it? And then they did. Like holy shit! Like you can play that game normally, and then Zapdos will run away, and you're just boned. But they accidentally caught Zapdos. With like over 100,000 people randomly putting like inputs in, and there were so many like moments of the opposite showing where like they accidentally released Pokemon by like walking up to a PC and then just
I do remember
immediately like carnage and like
wasn't there like a sub movement to like release Flareon?
Oh, yeah, there was such a like see that was the other thing because like it was so funny watching like Twitch chat being like its own like entity of what it is. You guys just know.
Yeah.
Like make their own like story and stuff to the game and like trying to explain things, and like there's so many like Twitch plays Pokemon videos where they're like it shows like the story of like Charmander being released, and then they were supposed to get Vaporeon but they because they needed Surf, but then they accidentally got Flareon instead, and like there's so many like there were so many like amazing funny moments in that playthrough.
Yeah, that's
Like a
one of
whole-
the things I really liked about Twitch plays Pokemon is like the lore that
Yeah.
shot up around it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. I don't know if any of you have ever played like a tabletop game like D&D or something. But you like go through these adventures and you start having like in jokes about like crazy things in the past that happened. And that's like what Twitch Plays Pokemon was, is like 100,000 people like chronicling this fucking crazy adventure and putting like their own spin on it, and making their own story around it. And that was really fun. And it's cool too when you have like just thousands of people that are part of that joke, that helped make that joke. And I think
Twitch Plays Pokemon is like an odd example of cooperation through just complete disarray. Just like it was so back and forth, people going from like democracy mode to complete anarchy mode, and it was just like nobody could you can't make up your mind when you have 100,000 people playing, but it just kind of happened. It took a long ass time, but they somehow made it through.
Well, like
it's insane.
I remember when they were in like Vermilion City and they just needed to get to like the one place. They needed to cut a tree to get to the gym, and it took them I think 8 hours in order to go into their inventory, select Pokemon, select cut, select yes on the specific tree, and then actually walk. Because one time they cut it and they walked away from it. Just the simplest things became so much more chaotic because so many people were working together, but like the determination was there. And like there were so many in jokes, like even just among the nicknames of Pokemon themselves, like because all the names were like just randomly pressed letters. You had like Bird Jesus with the Pidgeot, who is like their main, like after I guess they released Charmander, that was like their main guy. Then they caught Zapdos and they called him AAJ, so people called him the Archangel of Justice. And like there is this amazing moment where because they caught a Venomoth, and it was called ATV, so they called it an all-terrain Venomoth, like an all-terrain vehicle. And then somehow, like they were grinding against Elite Four, which was so like they must have fought Elite Four like so many times, and each time you were just like, oh my god, they need to do it, and like they would. When they get so close, it just seems so far. And I remember they were fighting Lance, and like he had like the 3 Dragonites, and it was like, oh my god. And it was, I think they only had like Venomoth left against Dragonite, and everyone's like, this is over. And then like somehow Dragonite kept missing, and Venomoth got like the sleep and the poison, and like this tiny little Venomoth ended up beating like the Dragonite in front of like over 100,000 people. So everyone then called him ATV, the Dragon Slayer. And like there were so many like funny lore stories going on with the Pokemon, and like everyone, and then like you have like the Helix fossil, because like people were consulting the Helix fossil accident, because people would accidentally go into the inventory every 5 seconds. So throughout the game, if you select Helix fossil, it's like, this isn't the time to use that, Ash. And so because like the entire game, it was like, oh, Helix fossil, Helix fossil, Helix fossil. Like they kept on using it so many times, it became a meme. But then like again, just because the same like vein of like people just collectively being like, you know what, let's just be amazing and catch Zapdos. People were like, you know what, we need to summon the Lord Helix. Let's go and actually revive the Helix fossil, and then get it out of the PC. Which like there was a whole like online movement. They're like, don't ever talk to the PC, because the last time we did that, we released everything. And like, but and then again, like somehow against like the odds, they actually did revive the Helix fossil, and then they were like, we need it in our party, which they totally didn't. Like that was again like a side mission. It's so cool that kind of like experience happened with Pokemon Red and Blue. Like it's more so than just like as a game. Like it's just like an online social experiment. Like I don't really know if anything will be that like at least largely replicated ever again.
Oh yeah, and Twitch Plays Pokemon has been going on after that.
Then, yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's still going.
Yeah,
which is
it is.
Crazy.
There's always something.
Yeah.
Which is a shame it's not as big as it was. But
well, every so often, like there was such like a big hype movement, because everyone was like, oh my god, this is like, everyone jumped on that bandwagon, because everyone in their right mind was like, this is incredible, this is the first time this is ever happening. And like now I think they've actually played through all the Pokemon games, so
yeah,
it's just kind of like old news now.
That's crazy.
But it's still incredible to think that was possible. Like whoever, growing up as a kid, like I never would have thought that that was even like possible to play Pokemon Red and Blue like that.
No, yeah.
Would
not at
never
all.
have crossed my mind that
Nope.
100,000 people would play Pokemon at the same Pokemon game at the same time.
Yeah. So I think moving on, I know Mitch has some good stuff to say about Pokemon. So why don't you tell us what you did with Pokemon, Mitch?
What the fuck?
Hey, Mitch, what'd you do with Pokemon?
You did the whole gym leader battle
Oh
thing.
shit! I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's my story. So I used to live in this house with 8 people, so it was 7 others, and then myself. And this was at the time Heart Gold Soul Silver had just come out, and we got Pokemon Battle Revolution for the Wii, which is an awful game, but we made it fun by you could connect your DS and use your party from any Generation 4 game and put it on screen. So like it was the updated graphic version, I guess, and it just looked nicer, and everyone could watch your matches on the TV and stuff like that. And after about a month of just fighting each other, we're like, we need to make this interesting. So everyone picked a type, like a Pokemon type, and each person just became a gym leader with that type. And we made badges, and like you would just knock on someone's
I didn't know
door.
that.
Well, that's amazing.
And
That's
like,
deep.
Wait, how old were you?
I don't want to say. I was the youngest at 21.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And the oldest was
that is
26.
amazing.
What gym leader were you?
I was flying.
Flying
'Cause
type.
Because you're always high, right?
Oh my god.
Nailed it. Fucking nailed it right there.
This was.
Got him.
I developed a strategy that no one could beat, which was, I don't know how much you guys know about competitive Pokemon, but I was using Gut Swallow, which was, especially back then, super overpowered. Give it a Burn Orb, it doubles its attack. Use it in 10 Facade,
Guts is
which when you're
Guts is
burned,
when they have a
doubles
status
its attack.
effect.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And it has like a base power of 300 or something if you do it right.
Yeah.
And this thing was fast, so no one could beat it.
Wait, 300? That's even stronger than like Explosion.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It was broken back then. I think they nerfed it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Actually, it's really funny that you mentioned that, because I remember one time I went to a convention and like I think random people were, I guess like, again like I guess they went online and they were like, I'm going to this convention and I'm gonna have a badge with me, and if you beat me, I'll give you that badge. Like just with their Pokemon teams, and I guess like people did that. And I remember I went to Con Brava last year and there was like a bunch of people with their DSs around, and they were like, every person I guess showed up to the con with their own like custom made badges, and then if they beat each other they would like trade badges, which is really cool. Like the fact that like
Yeah.
they made like the game and they just made the game real life. They were like,
Yeah.
we're gonna make Pokemon real and go meet actual people and then
That's so cool to me.
play Pokemon and take names.
It was really annoying because if someone challenged you, you had to take it no matter what you were doing.
Oh,
So like,
well,
I'll,
that's
like,
just authentic Pokemon.
Yeah.
I'd like have my girlfriend over, and then like we'd be hanging out,
And
and
you
someone
walk
like
in their
challenge
line
me.
of vision.
Yeah,
No, that's
so
incredible.
that was a fun time.
Yeah.
Speaking of that flat, I just got another real quick story. I invented a way to figure out who's the best gamer in the world at that flat.
Go on.
World
Okay.
in the flat. Yep.
Well, in the flat, but this could be translated to the world. Trust me. So has everyone played Risk? Have you all played Risk, the board game?
Sure.
It's global domination. It's just armies fighting each other, roll dice, all that. I wrote out 12 games, and when you'd roll the dice, you would have to invade someone's territory, and whatever you rolled, you'd have to pick off the list. So like, say you got a 6, it was Tony Hawk's Skate. And you had to play it was horse, not skate. So you play horse, and whoever won took over the territory, or you defended. And then this went on for months, but we never finished it because everyone rage quit from losing too much.
Oh no.
There was like Mario Kart, Tony Hawk, Street Fighter, Soul Calibur, Smash Brothers, just like all these different kinds of games.
Yeah,
That was a good time.
I liked how you kind of took competitive games of all different genres and melded it into one huge competition. I think that's
Yeah.
really cool.
But then everyone rage quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they never follow through with that shit.
Yeah, everyone gets too
Risk
salty.
in general.
I remember.
This is. Oh, go ahead, Barry.
No,
Oh, you go ahead.
no, it's all right. I don't have anything to say.
No.
I'm serious. No, I'm serious. I was just like, yeah, I remember doing something like that. That's about it. So go ahead, Riz. No, that's it. Don't feel bad.
That's fine. I'll just jump off a bridge after this. So Risk in general is a game that I don't think people finish a lot because there gets to be this point where it's a stalemate. So the game I wanted to talk about, actually a board game. Like my whole plan was to talk about a board game instead, just to change it up. Is Nuclear Risk. And pretty much how that works is whenever you take a country or a territory, you draw like one of those territory cards, and you have the option to nuke that country. So like if you draw China, like I could be like, okay, I'm going to nuke China. And then if you nuke China, everything on China is dead, and you put like a token there, and no one can go in or out of China anymore. So it's pretty much just a way to make Risk take like 10 minutes opposed to 8 hours.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like it. It just had my favorite element of Risk, but without the stress of actually finishing a game.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
go ahead, Perry. Perry.
Perry?
No, just go ahead.
No, Perry. I want to hear from Perry
Yeah.
Dactyl, the hype man. Let's go. Get hype, baby.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring it back to Pokemon real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this is a game that several of us here have tried. It's very common, like, game within a game for Pokemon. It's called Nuzlocke.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically playing hardcore mode in Minecraft, but for Pokemon. Man, I really shouldn't have said that. Anyways, so basically the whole point of the game is you only get like one shot to catch Pokemon per area, and if your Pokemon faints, you actually have to release it to simulate it dying in the game. I don't know about you guys, but like that's something that I just fucking love. Like I prefer to play that like when I get a new game, just play that right off the bat rather than playing.
Oh my gosh, I know,
Yeah,
right?
man.
It's
I've
like
been doing that since Black and
Yeah.
White. Like just Nuzlocke straight away.
I
Yeah, man.
I enjoy doing that almost more than like playing through the game, because the game, like, Pokemon's just like way too kiddie and way too easy.
Yeah, like I love Pokemon just because it's so creative and interesting. But like as a game, it's really incredibly easy, and this is like a great way to like beef up the challenge.
Yeah, it makes it so
especially
much more
now.
like, interesting too.
Especially now, like with, I don't know. I personally thought that X and Y was kind of lame just because of the way I played it with the EXP share. It was
You
just,
gotta turn
I know,
that shit off and throw it in the
I know.
garbage.
I know. I just didn't know like how overpowered I would be by the end
Should've
of the
told me.
game. And so definitely I think with new Pokemon, I'm probably going to go that route and just start with the Nuzlocke, or at the very least like not use my starter, because I think that makes things pretty interesting as well.
Yeah,
Mm.
I've always,
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I've always thought, and like this is like even like because I really like I mean I'm older, so I like the older Pokemon's better
I'm
than the new
older.
ones. But even like when I go
Right.
back and play the old Pokemon, so I'm always like, oh, I wish trainers had, you know, not just 5 Weedles and like all these weak ass Pokemon. Like why can't
Yeah.
all the trainers actually have a full team of Pokemon, and why
Dude,
can't
I totally
and why
feel
can't
you.
why and you'll
Um,
be fighting somebody and it's like they'll just use useless moves against you all the time, and it's just like there's no challenge. Even when I go back and play the old games, I'm like, the game really isn't bringing like its A game. It's not really trying to challenge me. Like it's just randomly like even I'll fight a fire Pokemon with a grass Pokemon and they
Yeah,
won't even use
no.
fire moves against you. It's just random.
I totally feel you, and I think something that's beautiful that like the Pokemon community has done is ROM hacks.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Which is another like game within a game. One of my favorite things to do is get like a Pokemon ROM that like everything is random. so you never know what Pokemon you're getting or you're gonna fight. So like you could be just like strolling around and then like, oh, it's a random Mewtwo. Oh no!
Those are real
there
fun.
goes my game.
What if you like started with a Mewtwo? Just
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I randomly won the game.
I remember watching a stream one time where someone like started off with a Magikarp as their starter.
Oh man, that's great. I think that's such a cool thing. You could spin it in a way. I think the newer, like, this is something Nintendo should take note of. Instead of just
Listen up, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Steve O'Hobo's got something to tell
what's
you.
up. So, I mean, this could be kind of broken, but Pokemon is very structured. So you're going to be moving. If you go the right way, I mean, you kind of have to. You're going to be finding Pokemon strictly at this level so you can easily take them out. But I think one thing that could be really cool is just if they just sometimes throw in some incredibly strong Pokemon and force you to run away. I think that could be a really cool thing. I don't know, I just felt like saying that. But yeah, Pokemon Nuzlocke are awesome.
The only time in Pokemon I think I've ever seen like a Pokemon that was higher level in an area than you're supposed to be is in Red and Blue. Sometimes in Diglett Cave you can find like a level 30.
Yeah,
it's like a level 30 Dugtrio and you're only like level like 17 and you're like, what the hell is this? Why?
I always
but that was
grab it.
Yeah, but that was really like that.
Yeah, same here.
That was such a cool thing because then if you were like super ballsy, you could like go catch it and be like, you're gonna destroy this next gym leader for me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I remember
they never really did that.
No, in the Gold and Silver, like I remember you could like kind of go different ways to get badges, and I would always fuck up somehow and like go the hard way, and like be like fighting Pokemon that are like 10 levels higher than me, and I would be like, oh, that's kind of weird, and then like go back to the gyms I missed, and they're like 10 levels below me by that point. And I'm like, oh, whoops. But yeah, for the most part, the Pokemon games are pretty like, oh, you go here because the Pokemon are really easy.
Wouldn't it be interesting? And actually, that was one of my complaints about the new Pokemon game, like X and Y. Like, you didn't even have that choice. Like, the game was literally a big linear path. Like, you couldn't.
See, I actually really like that.
I didn't really like that. But wouldn't it be interesting if they made a Pokemon that was more like, you know, intent on challenging you, and like gym leaders would actually have full teams like that are meant to kill you and stuff. And like, what if you ran around and wild Pokemon, like their levels were adjusted to reflect like what
how far you've come.
It would be really nice if like no matter where you went, the wild Pokemon would always like their levels would reflect you.
Yeah, or like trainers too, and like or like have like a rubber band where like trainers could have Pokemon like 5 levels above yours, and like I think it would be wouldn't be that hard to do.
Gold is.
I mean, it could be similar to like Fire Emblem Awakening with the sense of you can have it be like permadeath on or off. You know, it makes it so like you could make it a setting in Pokemon where you could still have the easy mode for the kiddies that just want to play and have fun, and then be like, yeah, but for the adults who are actually our target demo, even though we still think it's kids, even though like adults are definitely the ones playing it and spend the money on it, like we'll give you a mode that actually challenges you. And I think you're right, it wouldn't be that hard, and I think they only stand to gain from doing something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely time to change it up a bit.
I think that would be 10 times more welcome a change than like Mega Pokemon or whatever the hell they thought they would change the game with. Like,
dude, you're just salty because there's no Mega Kingler.
Kingler is the Mega of all Pokemon. Okay?
Instant trigger.
He doesn't need a Mega form. He's already like the Mega. He's like a Mega anything.
Yeah.
Cookie.
He's the king.
I think Kingler is pretty trash. But yeah, moving on.
What
Fuck yourself and your stupid Diglett picture, Steve. Kingler's amazing.
You love it, Jolly. But yeah, so
okay. So Perry's story kind of like reminded me of. I'm gonna ignore Steve because he's dumb. Doesn't know what Kingler is all about.
Oh my god.
So I'm just going to talk over him and talk my own story that Perry reminded me of. So if you're talking games within games, and like Perry brought up like ROM hacks and stuff, like mods in general are like the most amazing thing. There's so many games that have like mods have completely changed. Like I I think one great example of mod, like a game within a game, like if you've all played Warcraft 3 before.
Oh, yeah, I know where
like,
you're going with this.
So yeah, you know where I'm going with this. Like Warcraft 3 was this game, and it was made by Blizzard, and you made bases, and it was pretty good. Like it was really, really fun. And like the game, unlike a lot of like similar games now, like they just like gave a level editor, and like so many fans made their own games, and there was everything from like Mario Kart spin-offs to like ridiculous like tower defense games, and like there was one custom game that somebody made. It was called Dota: Defense of the Ancients.
Oh,
and
here we go.
This was just a regular like mod that someone made in Warcraft 3, and it eventually like it became so popular, and like I remember playing Warcraft 3 and hearing about it, and then I'd play it, and then like the game kept evolving and evolving, and it just took like the units and like it made like kind of a tower defense-y hero down like multiplayer game with you go destroy the towers in your opponent's base, and like you play 5v5, and it was just like, you know, a game with, it was like literally a mod for Warcraft 3. It was using all the assets. But like they changed it up, and they got like a lot of people really liked it, and there was a lot of community support, and then people would like, it eventually caught on, and like this whole metagame evolved around it. And then Dota, like now, Dota's gone on to be like, there's millions of people like who play Dota. Dota itself is like this huge competitive scene, and then from Dota, like you got like Han and League of Legends that like kind of spawned off of Dota, and like League of Legends now, like it's like the super moneymaker. Like there's like League of Legends like right up there behind like Minecraft. It's like everyone knows and is playing League of Legends. You turn on League of Legends on Twitch, there's always like a bajillion people watching.
Oh yeah.
And like that was all like. That all came from just a game within a game. It all came from the mod of Dota on Warcraft 3.
Yeah. Well, Dota 2 International is going on at the moment, and the prize pool's $16 million, I think.
16?
Shit.
I know.
I bet if, again, like I said, when I was a kid, I would never believe like Twitch plays Pokemon. I never believed that mod when I played Dota for the first time in Warcraft 3. I never would have believed that was ever going to have $16 million on the line. Like what?
Djali, I remember playing Dota as a kid, and I'm like, this game's fucking dumb. I'm going back to tower defense. And look what took off.
Yeah.
You want, and then like my other
sport in the world.
This is something I hold against like Dota 2 and League of Legends, is that they don't let you mod their games, because that's how Dota became so like big in the first place, is that it was a mod, and yet they don't let you mod their games, which is dumb, because I remember there were so many like interesting mods that people were making, and like there were mods of Dota. There's this one Dota mod in Warcraft 3. It was, I forget what it was called. It was like XX something random madness, and it was like imagine a game of Dota, but like you start with a random hero. Your hero's given random spells, and random shit just happens all the time in the map. Like a tower could randomly spawn or despawn, or just start walking around the map killing things, or like at any random point, like whatever items your character carrying or bought would get like traded with another player, or maybe your character would grow really big, or you would like randomly turn into a sheep or invisible or some dumb shit. Like it was basically Dota, but like every like couple minutes something ridiculous would happen, and like it kind of reminds me of like, think like Dota plus like the chaos of Mario Party, and it was like the most fun thing ever. Like it's so easy to just like turn that on and play, and like, well, I don't want to spend the next hour being super competitive in like a Dota game, but like I wouldn't mind just random crap happening and playing. And it was such a good idea, and like there's no reason why you shouldn't be like allowed to make those kinds of like fun mods with League of Legends or Dota 2. Like I don't know why a game that like we're modding was such like an important part of its history, why they're so like against it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of weird. Steve, what was the one thing you were going to say now?
So, my story.
Oh, and then
playing.
And so
Halo
the other really
2
successful mod.
As a kid, my brother had a
You
friend.
guys ever heard of Minecraft before?
Yeah. Fuck that. All right.
Hey, Mindsee's pretty cool. Like I think
No.
it's a cool.
No. Fuck
game
that.
within a game.
So.
What do you mean, fuck that? It's like
as a kid,
another
So I actually want to tell
fantastic
you about a
example of
game
a
that I
game
played
within a
lot.
game.
Oh my
it's called
fucking
Halo
god.
2.
So, all right, I'm just gonna fucking talk it out,
guys,
and I'm
I
not
think
gonna
glitches
stop.
bring us together.
So, my brother had a friend as a kid who had a modded Xbox console, and so we would play Halo 2 all the time. And one thing that we would do was play this game mode that he created called Yellow Brick Road. So if you've played Halo 2, you've played the
I've played
multiplayer.
that before.
Are you serious?
I think so. I'm pretty. You go.
Okay.
You explain it.
That's
Go
great.
on.
So
I can dig Halo 2.
So there's a map on Halo 2 called Relic. It's just like a beach, and there's a big like spire in the middle. And so what this guy would do was his mod like allowed him to fly around the whole level. This is gonna sound familiar to some people, probably everyone who's played Halo 3, but he would fly around the level and he could just drop platforms wherever. And so he had like these really slim platforms and would just place them like as a staircase, but you would have to jump to each one. And so it was the whole like battling. There would be so many people who wanted to play this game with us. And so we'd have a lobby of like, I don't know, I think the max you could have was like 16 people in a lobby. So we would have 16 people just battling to get to the top of the Yellow Brick Road. And so you would slowly get higher and higher up these platforms till you reach the top of the spire. And if you know anything about Halo 3, that sounds kind of similar to Forge mode. So Forge mode itself has spun into so many things that you can do with Halo. Just races and weird platforming things. Like they had a mode in Halo 3 called Donkey Kong. And if you played Halo 3, they have like these explosive barrels called fusion coils, and so you would be running up the platforms and your fusion coils would spawn at the top and roll down and you'd have to jump over them and platform.
Oh, that's
It was
great.
literally Donkey Kong, and
That's awesome.
that's not even like
The tip of
the
the
limit
iceberg.
of Forge mode. There's so much cool shit, and what's really awesome about it is that the community and just Microsoft itself like really embraced it, because you could just go on the main menu to a file share and you would see all the popular games and game modes. Like Forge put like an unlimited amount of hours in like a 20-hour game. It's astounding.
Yeah,
And that's not
Bungie
even
was cool as shit about that stuff, like sharing and like being accepting of people fucking with their game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Forge World itself, I'll agree, is just like, I think that kind of like exceeded the game itself in like how amazing it was. And like there's again like I mean like if you've ever watched like the Rooster Teeth channel, they'll showcase a lot of like the amazing Forge Worlds and stuff, and people have made like these incredible, impossible looking obstacle courses that are just like, they literally blow your mind. It's kind of like whenever you watch like people make custom stuff in Minecraft where you're like, holy shit, how did somebody actually make the time to do this? And there's a lot of like interesting game modes. Like there's the zombie mode, and like you.
Oh yeah,
people,
I was
like,
going to
become
talk about zombies.
Or
I
like
mean, zombies itself is a game mode that people made up from Halo 2 by themselves, and it was so great that they made it its own game mode in Halo 3. Like that's how accepting they were. It's awesome.
Yeah, there was like this other like mini game. Like I remember, there's this one Forge World map that I really liked. It was like they made this really huge ramp that you would always like fall down, and you had to like get through it, but they would be like dropping junk and stuff on you and like vehicles that would kill you. So you had to like go down. It was basically like a water slide mini game, and you would keep going faster and faster and faster until somebody won. And like, there's just like, people will get so creative when you allow them to mod your game, and there's like unlimited potential. And like, I really think like Halo is like the reason why I think it's such a masterpiece. Like Forge World, that's like,
you can turn Halo 3 into a platformer. That's crazy.
I think that's what's the coolest thing about games, where like the developers are like, hey, you know what? Here's some stuff that we use to make the game go nuts.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why like Minecraft is such a popular game, just because like it spawns so many games in of itself. Do y'all have any other cool stories you want to share?
So I'm doing something at the moment. This is what I'm playing. I wanted to take the idea of a Nuzlocke and adapt it somewhere else. So I'm playing Ocarina of Time hard mode, which is 3 hearts, no deaths.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, Mitch.
Yeah.
I think that the 3 heart challenge, I've seen like tournaments where people like do it, actually, when they released the Ocarina of Time 3DS at the EB Games I went to, they were doing like a 3-heart challenge, and whoever won got like a bunch of like free swag.
Oh, that's great.
It's not easy because like I'm doing Master's Quest as well, so there's less hearts
boy.
around.
Oh,
Luck.
And I've already died, so I had to start again. I forgot that Phantom Ganon does 2 hearts damage if you miss, and it destroyed me, so I had to start again.
yeah.
I mean, getting to Adult Link is like an hour long, so it's not that bad. It's really easy. But the Forest Temple is probably the hardest thing in Master's Quest, so it's not fun to keep doing it.
Master's Quest is really cool because it's almost like a mod of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, okay, everyone, we know a million people love Ocarina of Time, well, we're gonna, like, put it on its head and, like, change everything and, like, let people play it who want to play it again. Like, new dungeon challenges, like, it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah. So that's what I've been playing at the moment, and I thought it was suited for this topic.
Yeah, definitely. I think those are a lot of awesome things, and I know we could talk about it all day.
Oh, but you know what's gonna be so...
No, Jolly, stop!
But...
Jolly, no! We
Part
got it!
2
No!
in 2016.
But,
Jolly
but think of the Mario...
returns
Think of the
sometime in
Mario
20
Maker
years.
levels! The Mario Maker!
Yeah,
When
Mario
Mario Maker
Maker's
comes out,
cool.
we'll talk
So,
about it.
everybody, thank you for listening to the Game Boys podcast today, featuring Djali Goat. He's still talking, I think. I don't know.
I can't...
Make sure to rate us on iTunes. You have a great day. Bye.
Alright, is that done?